This is a pallet straight from the factory. So it's our heating and cooling system.
This has been quite the saga, huh?
It's been, yeah, there's a story behind each thing in here.
Building a boat. It starts as a dream and then into a concept. Lines on paper, numbers, plans. Then it's time for measuring, cutting, welding, and shaping raw material into something real. But there's a real big difference between actually planning something and then building it. At some point, the planning stops. The computer gets put away, and then it's time to validate your results by testing.
You ready to pump some water into this thing, Bill?
Let's do it.
See what happens?
What can go wrong?
That part, well, sometimes it can be the most time consuming and even more critical than all the steps that came before.
You hear it?
That's cool.
Because if you get something wrong, this is where it shows.
Oh my God. What?
So now the question is, can we nail this on the first try? Or will it take a few trial and errors to get it right?
He didn't see the funny side when I said, oh, it's $150 to unload it, plus a $37 unpacking fee.
That's an additional surcharge,
26
sulfur charge, carbon charge.
sorting charge.
He's just like, no, that's our game. Leave the joke to me. Well, here you go. I got a payment for you.
They got my bullfrog.
How about a waterproof portable Bluetooth speaker?
Oh,
Do you accept that for delivery?
nice.
Courtesy of Kicker.
Kicker. There you kick. That's nice, kicker.
There you go.
Beautiful.
What's going on here, Brian?
This is a pallet straight from the factory of our air conditioning components. So this is the two compressors, 24,000 BTU, inverter, reverse cycle, hydronic compressors, and then the rest of the fan coils, so the units for each room. So it's our heating and cooling system.
This has been quite the saga, huh?
It's been, yeah, there's a story behind each thing in here. This one was touch and go for a while because the customs people are like, oh, I don't think that we can allow anything with this type of gas. I think it's R134A. That's illegal in Australia. And I was like, oh, come on. So I look it up. Sure enough, any type of CFC gas is not legal in Australia anymore, but there is an exemption for systems that are portable. So if it's meant for a boat and it's under a certain quantity, like I can't remember what it is in kilos, but we qualified for that exemption. I was like, woof. So
Yeah.
here it is.
Wow.
Yes.
So this is cool and hot.
Cool and hot.
This is cool and hot.
A whole pallet of cool and hot. Oh my God, it's so much stuff.
Hi, thank you. It's also quite funny with all those charges and...
Oh man, yeah, what Dan was just joking about is I looked at it, let me just show you, it's freaking, it's hilarious. So this is one of like 4 invoices, and there's an invoice to get it onto the boat in China.
Yeah.
Then there's an invoice to ship it here. Then there's an invoice to get it off the boat. Then there's an invoice for customs, and then there's an invoice to deliver it here. This is the one to get it from the boat to the dock. These are the charges. Destination cargo automation fee. I don't know what that means. A currency adjustment factor fee. A general rate increase. That's my favorite one. We're just like, we just want more money. I think we'll just do a general rate increase. That one was $47.01. And then the last one is just port surcharge. And I'm like, what is you guys doing? What a racket. So to get it from the boat to the dock was $444.79.
Wow.
Yep.
At least they didn't claim it.
At least we got it. Speaking of rackets, of which there are many out there, there is one where your personal information is bought and sold online. It happened late last year, and I noticed a
marked increase in spam emails, spam text messages, and even voice calls. It was relentless. They're called data brokers, and somehow my personal information had found its way onto one of their lists, and it was then sold to a number of spammy marketing companies. These data brokers, they create a file with your personal details, shopping history, and sometimes even private health info, and they sell it to the highest bidder. Which is why I'm happy to say that today's video is sponsored by Incogni, and I'm going to tell you about the difference it made for me. I went to Incogni's website and I gave them permission to act on my behalf. They went out, they contacted each company, of which there are literally hundreds, and demanded that my name be removed from their lists. So I noticed an immediate reduction in spam. Even the calls dropped off. But it's sort of like a game of whack-a-mole. Another one would start up in its place, which is why I opted for the annual plan. A year later, I'm still getting progress updates from Incogni, letting me know that they found and notified yet another list with my details. It's a constant battle, but I'm happy they're on my side. So if you're getting crushed by spam or you just want to take back control of your internet privacy, it is super easy to get started. All you have to do is visit our special link. It is incogni.com/SVDelos. I will pop the link below and also in the description. And when you use our link, you're gonna get a super good deal of 60% off on the annual plan. There is also a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee, so you really can't go wrong. Okay, so take back control of your internet privacy, let Incogni do the heavy lifting, and that is it. Thank you so much for your support by watching. And now let's get back to installing our heating and cooling system in Delos 2.0. So here is our bulkhead through fittings. It goes 1.5 to 32 mil hose on the other side. So this is the liquid going into the boat, into the hull. This is the return line. I installed a heating system on Delos, and I really like the way it worked. It keeps a lot of noise out of the cabins. It's almost like a split system in a house where you have the compressor outside and you're just pumping a cold liquid through the unit inside. And so what we're going to actually be doing is putting two 24,000 BTU inverter chillers in this engine room here. So it'll be about just under 50,000 BTUs of cooling capacity, which is quite a bit. So this is a shelf that we fabricated together. So we'll have one unit here, and we're doing 2 units because it gives me the ability to run in a low power mode. So if we're plugged into the dock and we have a lot of power, I can flip on both units, have 48,000 BTUs of cooling. And if I'm in a restricted power situation, or maybe I just want to keep one cabin cool or running off solar or something out on the hook, then I can just put on one unit and consume half the power and go in like a limited cooling mode. This is the coolant circulation pump. It's a rather large pump. It's matched to the exact specs for the amount of heat exchangers or fan coils we have inside, and also what the amount of water that needs to be put through the inverter chillers. So I created up this manifold yesterday and put it together. So basically this is the output side of the pump. It's got a pressure relief valve. This is the 1-inch fitting that will connect to here. So that's the coolant going in. And then this is the coolant return side. So it'll go from this one to here, also on a 1-inch fitting. And then there's a bunch of other things, like this is the fill point. Over here, we also have a strainer to filter out particulate matter, and then you can take this off and it gets dumped out. This 19 mil fitting here is for an expansion tank. So the expansion tank sits down here. This is it. So the expansion tank, I think it's a rubber diaphragm inside, and it's pressurized with nitrogen on this side. And so it kind of acts similar to a accumulator on a pressurized water system, in that this diaphragm moves up and down, and as the liquid either cools or is heated up, and so this takes up that pressure in the system without it over pressurizing and then blowing the overflow valve. So that's the idea there. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a complicated system, but I really think it's gonna pay off. I'm gonna go get some B-roll now so that you guys know what I'm talking about. And then we're gonna start putting stuff in, and then we're gonna leak test it. So here we go. Okay, so we're down in our hull right now. So this is the starboard side hull, which would be Kaz and I's
master cabin suite. You can see it's nice and big and open. And over here we have two examples of the fan coils. So this is a 7,000 BTU one. This is a larger 16,000 BTU one for the running insulated hose, as you can see, for vents. And basically here's the other side showing the flow of the coolant, insulated hoses. So this is the cold or hot water coming this way. It then runs up through the units. You can see the flow comes in here. All this stuff, after we leak test it, will be insulated as well. So it kind of goes like this. All of the units have been isolated with valves so that we can shut them off and service them without draining the system. So the cold or hot fluid will come in here through the heat exchanger, and then there's a fan on the back that will blow the air out of the ducting and then into the cabins. Since we'll be using it for air conditioning as well, there's condensation that can form on the coils. So you can see how there's a stainless steel drip pan on the bottom to catch the condensation in cooling mode. And then we have drains running down that picks up that over here, and then that'll run into the gray water tank, the same one used for the showers and the sinks. So that's it. There'll be a total of 5 of these in the boat. One here, one here, there's 2 in the other hole, and then I actually did something cheeky and I put a third one up here to cool my workshop. So it's up here, and that'll be vented and dedicated just to the head and the workshop up there. Yeah, I can't wait to test it. It's gonna be interesting to try, and like we can leak test it pretty easy just because I can just put water in and I can turn the pump on and just blow pressurized. It's not really pressurized, but a constant flow of water through, and we can check for leaks, and then we'll have to drain it and then put it's like a 50-50 antifreeze water mixture. So that'll be fine. It'll be interesting to test the compressors because those are still water cooled normally with seawater. So maybe I can rig up some huge tank outside where we can pull water in, cool them, and actually test how the AC works, which would be incredible. Okay, now I'm gonna go downstairs and show you what the inverter chillers look like. Okay, so these are the 2 inverter chillers. 1 unit, 2 units. You can see on the back side they can be independently controlled. This is the 1-inch fitting that's gonna hook up to the pump. So this is chilled water in, that's going to be the return, and this is chilled water out. That's the water, the cool water coming out of the unit. Once again, all isolated with valves so that we can service them. And we're going to run these units in parallel. So the 1-inch hose will go to the boat that I showed you, and then these 19 mil smaller lines connect up to each unit, and then we can either decide to run 1 or 2 units. Yeah, so that's what I'm working on. I'm gonna try and get all these fasteners need to be fixed with pipe sealants, and then can start fitting stuff, put the pump in, and then we'll leak test.
As I said, I started with the pump first, and it dropped right into place on this shelf that we had fabricated earlier. A perfect fit.
Wow.
Good thing Billionaire's here to help.
Almost dropped it on the stairs.
Yes, I almost dropped it. Fuck. Shit out of me, Bill.
I had it.
I was like,
What is that?
it's a pipe sealant that solidifies in a anaerobic environment. No oxygen. Pipe Teflon sealants for metal fittings.
Then the heavy lifting continued. I managed to wrestle the compressor up onto the shelf, but something didn't feel quite right. It wasn't clean and the space wasn't optimized. So let's see what we can do about that.
Things have changed a little bit in here.
Yeah, I didn't really film much of it because I sort of got into a zone, but I wasn't real happy with how these were arranged. Basically, when I had them the other way coming out, they took up nearly the whole shelf, and I was very constrained because then this plumbing started poking out into this workspace here, and I didn't want to hit it when I was climbing down. And so what I did is I sort of flipped it. It turns out that they fit just perfectly behind this.
So close.
So close, and they're the right width, and then I was able to put all my plumbing out this way, and look how much extra shelf room I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everything's all hooked up. The hoses are run. So we've got the, this is the return water. So this will be the water from the fan coils after the heat, the cooling has already been sucked out of it. This is the input water from the pump. So the pump takes water and forces it in through here, and then the cool water comes out this way. This is the seawater out, and this is the seawater in. So seawater comes in here, it sucks the heat out of the thing, and then it goes in here and then drains out the side of the boat. The next step is to leak test all this stuff. Because once we leak test it, then we can finish insulating all the hoses, protect it from condensation and all that. But cruising.
Cool.
It's such a relief when all the projects are moving along. While I was hands-on with this one, Bill was figuring out how to install the pressure gauges. And now that I'm done, it's his turn to jump in and dial in the last bits of the plumbing.
So we're working on trying to just finalize the plumbing in order to do this leak test. Over here at these valves, these gauges, these pressure gauges, need to be mounted. And we thought this board here was big enough to have them mounted on here. But there's some other components that need to be installed, such as the control boxes, 2 of them. So I think what we're going to do is make this board a little bit bigger, and then we can mount the gauges to that remotely. I asked about like doing it here, but there's no good way to secure them, and then it'd also be in the way they'd be hitting that wouldn't be so clean. So they're gonna be remotely mounted up a hose on this board here.
You ready, Bill?
Yeah. Brian's gonna clean up his welds.
Yeah, because it's a flush. We want the piece of plastic to be flush, so I set the bracket back just a tiny bit, but then I'll grind the weld flush.
Ready to test. They have the gauges mounted. That was the last loop that the coolant would come out of. We didn't zip tie it or anything because we're going to wait until all the wiring and other hoses are done here. We're going to try and get the AC circulation pump, which is here, is what moves the coolant around the boat. We're going to just hardwire that to an Australian plug and plug it in. Wonder what will go wrong. We'll see. Should be interesting.
Got enough equipment installed that we can leak test the air conditioning system, because we have fittings here, quite a bit in the boat where there's each fan coil and all that stuff. So going to fill the system with just plain water. If there's any leaks, we're going to fix them, and then the system will be filled with coolant, like antifreeze type solution.
Okay.
So when we do fill it with coolant, we kind of want to know how much we have to put in. So I was wondering if anybody had any guesses as to the volume of liquid that is going to be in the whole system. It's such a random number to guess at. Do you have any guesses, Bill?
I have no idea, but I think Brian knows.
Bill's watching from up there.
Yeah, I'm secretly up here.
In liters. Make your guess in liters.
10.2 liters.
10.2
I think that's
liters.
quite low.
I think that's a little low.
Low.
I think it should be higher.
I'd say at least 50 liters.
50?
50. I think that's high.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Good morning. We did our prep work yesterday, and I think we are ready to initially leak test the air conditioning unit, which is a lot of work that's come together. There's hoses that go everywhere and a lot of fittings, so I do expect there to be a few issues, but I think we're ready to pump. You ready to pump some water into this thing, Bill?
Let's do it.
See what happens?
What can go wrong?
Okay. Hopefully you guys have lodged your guesses as to how much water is going to go into the system. We've got a starting amount of water. We've got our battery ready. Our test pump goes down here. And then let me show you where the fill point is on the very bottom. So this is our fill point, and then it goes into this manifold, and then this is the pump. So we've got pressure gauges installed on the feed and return. And one thing that we've done that I learned from installing the hydronic system on Delos that really helped is putting automatic air purge valves at high points in the system, which happens to be the fan coils or the heat exchangers inside, and also the compressors. So you can see that as water fills the system, there's the possibility of air getting trapped in the high points and the water not be able to completely fill. So we have these guys, which are automatic air purge valves, and they should let the air out of the system and let the water in. So that's the plan. Okay, let's stop talking and let's hit it, see what happens. Okay, Bill.
You ready?
Yep. Here comes the water. Whoop. Okay, go for it.
Okay, first hurdle overcome.
Well, there's a mystery valve down here, that filling valve, and that switch, we were debating if it, the knob, if it turned it on and off, and it does in fact. So
Yeah.
pressure switch shut off.
There's a pressure
So we have no leaks up to here.
Oh,
Okay, you ready?
good.
I'm slowly opening the valve. There it goes. So I just did a little test of this valve here. You ready? You hear it?
That's cool.
We'll fill the system, and then we'll go around to each air handler and do it.
Yeah.
With those fittings right there.
The ones I just did? What do you mean?
No, they're the ones inside, the bushes, the reducers. I'm more interested in leaks inside though.
Maybe we should be looking inside then.
Probably not a bad idea.
Here, I'm gonna go take a look inside and make sure there's no egregious leaks. All right, how's it looking?
This is looking good so far. That's nice. Here, on this fitting, right? Yeah, see how my finger's wet there?
Yeah.
This one, I'll put a little arrow to it right there.
To Brian, you think the inside, more leaks on the inside?
I expect it because we have a lot of different types of fittings going to copper and brass. The
Yeah.
ones that are leaking the most are actually the stainless ones in the engine room where I use the pipe seals.
That's actually kind of weird. Yeah.
Yes.
You think plastic in the metal is not the best use of fittings, but
So this is looking pretty good. We'll let the air come out of there. All right, well, I suspect that we're full now because the pressure gauge has just started to come up off of 0. So that's what it was, right on 0, and this one on our fill side is just above 0, so we're actually starting to pressurize a little bit, and we have all the air out of the system. And how much water have we put in, Bill?
25 and a half.
25 and a half.
I was way off. Double.
My calculation said, what was it, 16 and a half plus 8 and a half.
32.
So 32. Okay, so now we gotta mark our leaks, fix our leaks, get this water out of here, and then we'll try it again. See one right.
You
just saw that drip.
Yeah.
We found a few more leaks scattered around the boat. Some easy ones to fix, others not so much. But we had done a pretty good job of thinking through the access, and it was nice to see that the units could be fully removed even with some of the cabinetry in place.
It's turning into a real boat project, huh, Brian? Feels familiar.
But honestly, I'm taking it as good practice for what's coming when we finally get out there and set sail.
Turn it off, and turn it on. Yeah. It went pretty well. We didn't have any leaks over there. We had 2 leaks in that hull that Bill's working on, and then we had, most of the problems were in the engine room, which is kind of nice because it's real easy to get to that stuff. And I've decided to redesign this a little bit because I think it got a little bit complicated down there. So yeah, I'm gonna move some things around, try some different fittings. Bill's working on fixing the leaks in there, and then we'll test it again.
Sweet.
Yep.
All right, so I figured I'd come up with my top 5 list of why we chose this particular heating and cooling system instead of what you'd normally see on the boat, which are the compact units where the compressors are in each cabin. Number 1 reason, compressors not in the cabin. I'm just tired of compressor noise. I don't like sleeping and hearing the compressor turn on and then or sitting there in the nice quiet of the boat and then like, nah. So I think that machinery should stay in the machinery space and living stuff should be in the living space. So with this particular system, we're able to put the compressors in the engine room where they belong, and then just the heat exchangers and the fans are in the cabins to move the air. Number 2 reason, I've always been a little bit weirded out by the fact that if you have an air conditioning system in the boat where the compressors are in the living space, then you're literally pumping salt water through a high volume pump through each of the air conditioning units and then out of the boat. So you're literally like one failed hose clamp, one failed hose or bad connection or something from like 40 liters of salt water per minute being dumped continually inside the boat. So with this system, since we have the compressors in the engine room, we have a short salt water loop that comes right out of the sea strainer, right through the compressors in the back, and then right out of the boat. The salt water can go in the bottom of the engine room, stays out of the inside just in case something happens. I feel a lot better about that. Number 3, we're able to go with larger compressors. So there's some savings in terms of like pure weights and parts. So for example, on Delos, we had 3 8,000 BTU compressors. This boat, Delos 2, requires about 50,000 BTU units of cooling capacity. And so by going with 2 larger 24,000 BTU compressors, we're able to have a little bit more efficiency in terms of only having 2 of them. There's a little bit of shared parts, a little bit of weight savings, and I don't have to have like 5 or 6 different compressors spread throughout the boat. The other thing about the type of system that we're doing is we're cooling or heating the hot water in the engine room, and then we're literally pumping it around the boat in insulated hoses. It's called a hydronic system. We had a hydronic heater on Delos, and I really liked it because it has a little bit of what I'll call thermal mass. So when you heat up or cool that water that then goes throughout the cabins, it's almost like a radiator system. It's different than a forced air system that heats up very quickly and cools down very quickly, or if you're running an air conditioning mode, the opposite. This system more like maintains an even temperature instead of having these bigger spikes as the units turn on and turn off. And then the last one is this system, the way I've designed it and installed it, it will allow us to use a diesel boiler to heat water and still circulate it throughout the boat while still using the same pump, the same heat exchangers, fan coils inside the boat. We had a system like that on Delos where we had a diesel boiler in the engine room. It heated up hot water, it moved it through the boat. You can use reverse cycle to do that on normal air conditioning compressors, but below, when the water temperature starts to get below 5 degrees Celsius, they start to get very, very inefficient, and at some point they just totally stop working. So with this system, I'll be able to turn a couple of valves, I'll be able to take the compressors out of the loop, and then we can plumb in a diesel boiler, and then we can still very efficiently turn diesel fuel into heat the hot water, use the same pump and everything to run it out around the boat and get a nice, even, dry, warm heat. So what's the cons? It's definitely a more expensive system. When you look at all the components involved, they're more expensive than the put together compact systems. And it's also a little bit more complicated to design and install because you are running these big, larger tubes, insulated tubes throughout the boat. But for our purpose, I think it's well worth the time and the expense and the money and the effort to install it. And I'm really excited to turn it on, see how it works.
I'm a little bit nervous about it. It's hard to tell how much tension to put on the poly fittings. It feels like if you tighten them too much, they strip out. So it's kind of a balance of really tight, but not too tight. Oh, that's good. Oh. But so far, this looks okay.
Oh my God.
What?
Just kidding.
I was already in here.
This is the problem one right here.
dripper. We got down to one dripper.
So who had a leak, Brian or Bill? There we go. Good job. At least yours is easy.
Dang it. Dang it. Dang it. All right. Well, we had a pretty big win this morning. We redid my final fittings, and it's been holding pressure for the entire morning and afternoon with no leaks. So I'm gonna say that the air conditioning system is pretty good to go to move on to the next phase. So now that we've got all the leaks fixed in it, next step is to turn on the circulation pump. We're just gonna move fluid around the whole system for a while. And if that goes well and no hookups there, then we'll complete insulating all the connections with EVA foam tape, so that condensation doesn't form and drip inside our hole, which would suck.
Said and done. We worked really well together to have this job done in a couple of long days, and I must say, I'm pretty happy with the results so far.
Bill! Yeah? Come on down here, Bill. It's interview time.
Oh no.
Oh no. He assumes I'm gonna give him shit.
I do assume you're gonna give me shit.
No, we were just gonna talk about our success.
Oh, what was our? Oh, the air conditioner.
Yeah, so we turned the circulation pump on. It took a little bit of trying to get the fluid to run through it, but we were able to get all the air out. We put a little bit more water in. It took another 10 liters of water.
I think I was close.
So we were 26 plus 10, 36. Pretty close.
Yeah.
But yeah, we listened to it, and at first we were hearing like gurgle, 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 and then when we got all the air out, like it sure cleaned up, and then we could hear water going through all the loops, even the highest one, which is our concern. So
yeah,
our system design has been validated.
That was scary.
No leaks. It's holding pressure. It's been holding pressure now, and Bill went ahead and did finish the insulation. So all the pipes and all the valves and everything have been wrapped. So that turned out real good.
How was that?
Time consuming. It was fine.
Yeah.
And everything's been wrapped except for the stuff that is above the drip pan. So you notice this is not insulated. That's because it'll just drip into the condensation pan, and then it drains out the gray water system.
What was the hardest part? Getting the circulation pump to go?
That was our hardest part. The hard part was running all these freaking hoses.
I was here for that one.
But you got the joy of doing all the air purge valves.
That was fun.
But yeah, so the next step, I don't know what's our next step. Basically hook the thing up, put power to it, and see if it cools stuff off.
So did you empty all the water out?
No, we left it in there. Because I actually want to run the system with just water, and the water's not going to hurt anything.
Okay.
Before we commission the boat, we'll take half the water out and replace it with antifreeze.
We also found some leaks 2 days later.
Yeah.
So we left it in under pressure, and we did find leaks. A day or two later insulating, we found other small leaks. Yeah. So it's been good to keep it fully pressurized all this time.
But that's it. I say we call this stage we're gonna check this one off.
I can't
off the old Trello list. And what's up next week? More boat projects. Infinite boat work. We have infinite boat work. Welcome to our lives. That's it.
I can't even.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Oh, jeez. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm gonna make it bigger.
Bigger's better.
That's what she said.
Nope, the valves are on. So that's good news.
Is the air purge open?
Air purge is open.
And it's not leaking, huh?
It's not leaking.
So only air goes up. That's good to know.
Only air goes up. That's typically how it works. This is the one I was worried about.
Why is that?
I don't know, because it's behind the... And this has already been permanently installed, right?
Kaz will kill me if I scratch the cabinetry.